Hello, grade 12. Today's topic is History Paper 1, November 2023. I'm going to be answering this question paper. As we usually say, guys, before I answer the questions, please try to answer for yourself first. Obviously, I'll put the answers on the screen and I'll put the sources on the screen as usual. And if you want to download the question paper, there's a link in the description. And if you want explanations, for example, Cold War explanation, Congo explanation, every topic in history that you can think of, there's a link in the description. You have to visit my playlist where I talk about history. I've explained a lot of topics and I've done a lot of essay. So here we are focusing on source-based questions. And I hope you guys, I hope this is going to be helpful, guys. I really, really hope. And if you have any questions, you can just ask on the comments. Don't be afraid. Ask on the comments before you start writing. So, as you can see, guys, this is question 1. I am zooming in. This is question 1, section A. Guys, please pause the video and try to answer for yourself first. I'll show the source on the screen, which is source A. Without wasting any time, I will begin. Refer to source A, which is 1.1. All right, guys. 1.1.1. Identify in the source the 3 countries that made up the European Adversary Commission. I think everybody will get this one right, which is United States, Britain, Soviet Union. 1.1.2. Why, according to the source, was it decided at Yeldt in February 1945 to also create a zone in France, not in France, guys, for France in Germany? Why? Roosevelt and Churchill were able to convince Stalin to create a zone for France, which had suffered these invasions and 2 defeats at the hands of Germany within 70 years. 1.1.3. Explain why you think the occupying countries had to ensure that the Germans were not able to build up a military force again. Why? To prevent Germany from attacking its neighbors in the future, prevent expansion in Eastern Europe. Germany was blamed for having caused the Second World War, had to be weakened. So they had to make Germany to be weak because it was blamed for beginning for starting the Second World War. They had to weaken maybe its economy and everything. So including military. 1.1.4. Comment on the implications of having the city of Berlin in the Soviet zone in the context of Cold War tensions between USSR and the USA in 1948. Okay. The city of Berlin will become a pawn that the Soviet Union would use to settle their differences with their Western powers. The city of Berlin will become isolated from the Western powers as it was surrounded by the Soviet zone. So I will show the other answers on the screen. 1.2.1. Define the term blockade in your own words. Okay, guys, this is in your own words. Blockade. I think when we talk about blockade, even if you don't study history, you will know what we are talking about. Sealing or closing off a place to prevent goods or people from entering or leaving. Okay, 1.2.2. Explain why you think the USA regarded the Berlin blockade as a clear violation of existing agreements concerning the administration of Berlin. The USA saw the Berlin blockade as the Soviet Union as a deliberate act of bringing poverty to Berliners. The USA saw the blockade as a decision that the Soviet Union took without discussing with other countries. Other answers are on the screen. Quote 3 reasons from the source why the USA was determined to remain as a power in Berlin. Why? Quote 3 reasons. Guys, I really hope that the question paper is visible. As I said, if it's not visible enough, you can just download it. Link in the description. Anyway, let's continue. As they say, quote 3. When we talk about quoting, that simply means you have to look from the source and quote and write as it is. You quote. Well, I think everybody knows what is quoting by now. You guys are grade 12 learners and you are writing your final examination. Regarded to the blockade measures as a clear violation of existing agreements concerning the administration of Berlin by the four occupying powers, as a matter of established right derived from the defeat and surrender of Germany, confirmed by the formal agreements among the principal allies. Okay. 1.2.4 state one specific obligation according to the source which the USA insisted on concerning the physical well-being of the population of its sector, Berlin. Okay. In accordance with existing agreements, the arrangements for the movement of freight and passenger traffic between the western zones and Berlin be fully restored. 1.2.5 comment on why the USA emphasized its willingness to settle any disagreements with the USSR by negotiation. So some of the questions here in history, they actually require common knowledge, or let me just say general knowledge, and you have to use your thinking, you have to use your brain to answer. So let's answer now, guys. Let's not go off the topic. Comment why the USA emphasized its willingness to settle any disagreements with the USSR by negotiations. The USA was not prepared to engage in any military conflict with the USSR. The USA was a founding member of the United States Nations organization that supported settlement of disputes by negotiations. The USA was a signatory to Charter of the United Nations that called for settling issues through negotiations. Other answers on the screen, guys. Use source C. Okay, you can check the source, guys. 1.3, 1.3.1. Give two reasons according to the source why the Soviet Union opposed the introduction of special currency to be used in the western part of Berlin only. Why? Okay, why? Berlin lies in the center of the Soviet zone. The interests of the Berlin population do not permit a situation in which Berlin, or only in western sectors of Berlin, there shall be introduced a special currency which has no validity in the Soviet zone. Okay. 1.3.2. Explain the concept of monetary reform in the context of the Berlin zone in 1948. The introduction of the new financial system currency, Deutschmark, by the Western countries in their zones that excluded the Soviet part of Germany. Okay. 1.3.3, guys. 1.3.3. Why, according to the source, did the Soviet command believe that the danger of disruption of economic activities of Soviet zone of Berlin was not eliminated? Why? Why? The source, not the source, guys. Let me go back to the point. The United States and Great Britain and France continue to maintain in Berlin their special currency. This is why. 1.3.4. Comment on the limitations of this source to the historian researching the division of Berlin. The source only portrays the Soviet command and viewpoint one-sided. The source is critical, biased to financial reforms in Western control zones. 1.4. I hope you guys do pause the video and try to answer for yourself first, because most of the topics or most of the things we are talking about, I've already explained them and link in the description. Obviously, you can just check the history lessons that I've done. Because if I explain here, the video might be 1 hour 30 minutes long, so I'm actually saving many people's time. And guys, don't forget to study also. Don't just watch the videos only. You have to study, guys. You have to study. Okay, let's go back to topic. We are at 1.4, I think, guys. We are at 1.4. Consult source 1b, 1c. Comment on how source 1b differs from source 1c regarding reasons given by the USA and Soviet Union for remaining of occupying powers in Berlin. Okay. Okay, guys. In source 1b, the USA justifies its occupations
occupation of Berlin based on the formal agreements, while the source 1C, Berlin lies geographically in the Soviet zone. In source 1B, the USA justifies its occupation of Berlin based on the formal agreements, whereas 1C, source 1C states wanted to achieve economic recovery domination of the Western zone. Okay, guys, 1.5, consult source 1D. 1.5.1, explain the symbolic representation of the three leaders seated next to each other in the context of the Cold War. Okay, the USA, Britain, France ruled over the Western Berlin. Three combined zones of USA, Britain, France formed West Berlin, leading members of capitalism in Cold War against communism. The Western Allies were alarmed by the action of Soviet leader in dividing Berlin into two parts. Okay. 1.5.2, why did Russia Stalin want to have a final say in the administration of Berlin? Berlin was located in Russia zone. Russia wanted to to preserve communism, wanted to stop capitalist influence in Berlin. 1.6, this one is going to be a long one. Using information in the relevant sources and your own knowledge, write the paragraph of 8 lines, about 80 words, explaining how Berlin became focal point of Cold War tensions between Soviet Union, USSR, and the United States of America, USA, in 1948. So these are the things you need to include in your paragraph. The European Adversary Commission planned the division of Germany into 3 zones. At Yalta, Germany was divided into 4 different zones for each of the victorious powers. West Berlin flourished as a result of financial assistance from the USA. The city of Berlin, located deep into Soviet zone, was also divided, administered by joint 4 countries. The government of USA, Great Britain, and France wrote to complain when the Soviet government blockaded traffic from entering and accessing Berlin. Western powers combined their zones and formed West Berlin. The USA government regarded this blockade as a threat and committed to resist it. The USA government displayed willingness to settle disputes with the Soviet government by negotiations. So, guys, your paragraph has to make sense, and you may include the things I've just mentioned, and you'll see the other ones on the screen. I don't want to read them all. Because I will be taking a lot of time, guys. Let's go to question 2. We're gonna take question 2. We're gonna remember, guys. We will answer only 2 questions. We will answer only 2 questions. Question 2, guys. 2.1, 2.1.1. You will see the source on the screen, which is source 2A. You can just pause the video, guys, and look at the source. 2.1.1. Define the term revolution in your own words. Overthrowing of the government by force. 2.1.2. Identify in the source the 3 nationalist movements that contested the control of Angola after independence. Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA. National Front for the Liberation of Angola, FNLA. 2.1.3. Name 2 communist countries in the source with which NATO formed close links. This is Cuba and Soviet Union. 2.1.4. What does the execution of NATO Alves followers suggest about the NATO's leadership? Okay, NATO was brutal, ruthless. He was intolerant of any opposition forces, promotes one-party state. Okay. 2.2. Refer to source 2B. Why do you think the photograph was taken in December 1975? Why? To consolidate and display power against the other nationalist movements, to convince the Angolans that they were in control, intimidate other parties. Okay, you see other answers on the screen, obviously. 2.2.2. Comment on the implications of the title of the photograph, Angola's Brutal History and the MPLA role in it. Okay. MPLA used brutal methods to gain victory and control of Angola. MPLA killed members of FNLA and UNITA during the civil war.
other answers are on the screen. 2.3, use source to see. Why, according to the source, did the transition from Portuguese rule in Angola turn into disaster? Why, according to the source? The withdrawal of the Portuguese abandoned all attempt to control the transition. 2.3.2, explain the term civil war in the context of the contestation, guys, of power over Angola. Explain. A war in which civilians within Angola fought against each other. When nationalist movement MPLA, FNLA, and UNITA in Angola fought against each other to take control over the government. 2.3.3, comment on the meaning of the statement, but both were determined for the reasons of their own prestige in the context of their involvement in the Angolan Civil War. Okay, both the USA and the Soviet Union were more concerned about spreading the ideologies of capitalism and communism in the world, respectively. The US and the Soviet Union competed for support amongst countries in various parts of the world, including Angola and Southern Africa. Okay, so now we are going to another one. You'll see our answers on the screen. 2.3.4, explain the usefulness of the source to the historian studying the Angolan Civil War. It is a source taken from the book by historian M. Meredith. It highlights the transition from Portuguese control to Angola, or to, let me say, to Angolan independence, which resulted in the Angolan Civil War. Okay, guys, this is it. You will see other answers on the screen. So we are going to 2.4 now. 2.4, guys. Study source 2D. 2.4.1, quote evidence from the source that suggests that MPLA was leaning towards nationalism and socialism. We have to quote evidence from the source. The popular movement of the liberation of Angola, MPLA, led by Agostinho Neto, looked upon politics through nationalist and socialist lenses. Please, guys, you can look at the source and pause the video. 2.4.2, explain what you think implied by the following in the context of the Angolan Civil War. Conflict became ethnicized, guys. Sorry if I'm pronouncing the word wrong. Each nationalist movement represented different ethnic groups, and this led to the outbreak of a civil war. Some people, such as the Molotovs, didn't see themselves identifying with all Angolans. Different nationalist movements were also regionalized. 2.4.3, why, according to the source, did the Central Intelligence Agency CIA support the FNLA? Why? Saw it as a list of Marxist of the three. 2.4.4, using the information in the source and your own knowledge, comment on why you think South Africa decided to support UNITA. Why? Because UNITA was fighting the MPLA, which posed a communist threat to South Africa. The MPLA had a close ties with Cuba and the Soviet Union, opponents of the capitalist in SA government. The South African government wanted to have control of the region. UNITA had the support of the USA, a close ally of South Africa at the time. 2.4.5, quote two pieces of evidence from the source that suggest the MPLA did not improve the lives of the Angolan people. It did little in the countryside other than recruit soldiers. Education, health, and other services in the cities languished. 2.5. Okay, guys, now we are going to 2.5. We are done quoting. As you said, the 2.4.5 says, quote two pieces of evidence from the source that suggests the MPLA did not improve the lives of Angolan people. So we are done. 2.5, refer to source 2C, 2D. Explain how the evidence in 2C supports the information in 2D regarding the approach followed by the three nationalist movement. Explain. In source 2C, the evidence shows that the nationalist movement appealed for the support from the foreign powers, and in source 2D, the information states that each of the nationalist movement received support in their efforts from the foreign countries. Source 2C states that the nationalist movements were involved in an armed struggle for power, and in 2D, the evidence shows that the nationalist movement received ammunition from countries such as Cuba and the Soviet Union and other countries in order to entrench their power. Now we are going to 2.6, guys. 2.6, which says using the information in the relevant sources and your own knowledge. Write a paragraph of about 8 lines, about 80 words, explaining the factors that led to the three nationalist movements MPLA, FNLA, and UNITA becoming involved in the Angolan Civil War in 1975. So these are the things you need to include on your paragraph. After the overthrow of the Portuguese leader Caetano, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing the word right, the new leadership was prepared to end colonialism. The Portuguese failed to oversee the transition of the power to the Angolans, created the power struggle. MPLA went against the agreement signed in the Portugal to rule over, not to rule over, guys, to rule together. Three nationalist movement, the MPLA, UNITA, and FNLA, contested the leadership race. Agostinho Neto emerged as the ruler of the country and established a one-party state after the MPLA took over the capital city of Luanda. And the MPLA showed a keen interest in the socialism against the FNLA and the UNITA. To show its strength and determination to continue with the war, MPLA forces paraded their troops in Angola. The three nationalist movements sought support from the foreign powers, which resulted in the Angolan Civil War. The United States and the Soviet Union became involved in the Angola Civil War to maintain the global balance of power. The FNLA army had been retrained by the President Mobutu's army, which is in source 2C. The United States wanted to regain its position as the world leader. The Angolan Civil War turned into the ethnic war as three nationalist movements were divided along ethnic and cultural lines. So, guys, these are the things you need to include, and you can just include others, obviously. So, guys, if you have any question, ask on the comments, and I've explained a lot of topics of history. You can just go to the description and click the link, which is a playlist, history playlist, and go watch those videos. These are the explanation. These are like 30 minutes explanation. So there will be no excuse why you don't understand. So if you have any question, ask on the comment. Ask on the comment about source-based questions or whatever it is. So guys, make sure you subscribe. Peace.